Hello and welcome to this intermediate Java tutorial series. We're going to start this series off by looking at object-oriented programming. So first of all, what is object-oriented programming? It's a way of structuring your code so that you can reuse common variables and common methods, and you can reuse them as many times as you want, and it's just a really good way to structure your code. So first we're going to look at an analogy about what classes and objects are in Java. So a class is a prototype which can be replicated in the form of an object. Now, if this doesn't make sense, it will make sense when we jump into the examples. So this analogy is quite good to remember. It helped me remember when I was first learning object-oriented programming. So we're going to jump right into the examples so we can explain this a bit more. So a class is a prototype which can be replicated in the form of an object. First of all, we're going to define our class. And a class in Java is like our structure for our code. It's going to have any number of methods and variables. So to make a class in Java, you simply write the word class. You can define a class anywhere. You can define it inside of a method. You can define it inside of another class, or as you can see, in a completely new file. So you first write the word class. That states we're defining a class. You then give the class any name within Java naming conventions. So we're just going to call this my class. And then you declare the structure of your class with the opening and closing curly braces. Now everything inside these curly braces is going to be a variable and or method of this class, my class. So going back to the analogy, a class is a prototype which can be replicated in the form of an object. So what does this actually mean? It means that any variables and methods inside this my class can be replicated over and over again individually. So each individual object that we remake of this class is going to have its own set of variables and its own set of methods within this same structure. The most common one you have probably seen already is the string class, and we can create a new string and give it a new value. And you know, of course, that obviously if you replicate this, we'll call this 1 and 2. You see that each different string can hold different values. It's not, the object isn't limited to just one value. And if I go over here to the actual string class, this is a class made by Java. You can see it's very long. Quite complicated. If we go to the very top of it here, we can see that we have this class called string. Now, this string class, all this code you see down here is the structure of this string class, and it can be replicated over and over again, each time holding new values. So let's go into this simpler my class, and we're going to see exactly what we mean by that. So we're going to give my class two variables first of all. We're going to have a string, let's just say name. We won't give it a value yet. And then we'll have integer called age. So we've got two variables inside this my class. Now we can make as many instances of this my class as you want, and each one is going to have an individual name variable and an individual age variable of which we can set. So let's go ahead and make two instances of this class here. We make an instance of this class by first giving the class name, and this is like as if we were saying int I. It's basically just saying the variable type. My class is the type of variable we want to create here. So let's just call this 1, or let's actually call it object1. Object1 equals, and then the syntax for creating a new instance of a class is the word new you see that's another built-in Java keyword. And then you put the name of the class, followed by two open and close brackets there, and then of course semicolon to end the line. So we've declared that the variable type of this variable here, object1, is my class, and we've set it equal to a new instance of my class. Now, what does this object1 actually represent? This object1 represents a new instance of this class here, and it has its own string called name, and it has its own string called age. We can see this right here. I'll show you some more syntax. We can access this object1 like so, and if we put a full stop period, we can see that Java comes up. We have age and name, and these are the two variables here that we can use. So let's set name equal to Ollie. Then we can go ahead and say object1.age equals 18. So we've now set the values. We've now set the name and age values inside this object1, and we can go ahead and create another instance of my class. Let's call this object2, and we'll set it equal to new my class. And now this object is a completely new instance. It's not going to have the value Ollie, and it's not going to have the value 18 stored inside name and age. It's a completely new instance of an object, and we can create as many of these as we like. That's how Java works. We structure our code with classes, and then we can remake as many of them as we like. So let's go ahead and give object2 some values, and then we're going to print it out to the screen, and we're going to see. So we're going to set object2.name. We're going to set that equal to Mark, and then object2.age. We'll just set that equal to 21, for example. So we've made. Let's just go over what we've done again. We've made a class, we've declared a class called myClass, and we've given this class two variables. We've given it a string called name, and we've given it an integer called age. Now, these can be set as we like when we create the new objects. So we've created a brand new object called object1, and it is an instance of myClass. We've done this by declaring that the variable type of object1 is myClass, and we've set it equal to new myClass. And the syntax here, remember, is you say new to create a new instance, then you write the name of the class followed by the open and close brackets, and of course semicolon to finish the line. We can then access the variables from within this object by using the period. We can say object1, which is the name of the instance of my class we just created, and then we can just simply call the variable name. So we've done object1.name, we've set that equal to something, then we can say object1.age, we can set that equal to something else. Then we've created an entirely new object. It's still the same variable type, it's an instance of my class, except because it's a new instance, it's equal to a new instance of it. It doesn't have this value called Ollie, it doesn't have this value of 18, it has a completely new set of name and age variables, which as you can see we've set equal to different things there. So let's go ahead and print this out to the screen now, just to demonstrate the point that each object is its own its own instance and has its own instances of the variables and methods inside it. So let's go ahead, write system out print line, then we're going to say object1 dot name. We're going to call the name, and then we'll just concatenate on an extra string. We'll put the word is, and then concatenate on object1 So this is going to print out the name that's stored inside object1 is, and then the age that's stored inside object1. So let's go ahead and hit run. You can see here that the output is Ollie is 18. So let's go back and see what we've done. You can see that object1 is accessing the name variable, and we've stored the value of Ollie inside that name variable for object1. Same with the age, we've stored that value of 18. So let's go ahead and see if it works with object2. We'll just copy this line down, and we'll simply change the variable we're referencing. So we'll change it from object1 to object2 in both the name and age. So underneath Ollie is 18, we're now going to see Mark is 21. And there you go. So hopefully in this tutorial that's given you a basic idea of what objects and classes are. We're going to be looking into more complex class things later on in this tutorial series. But mainly what you should take away from this is that a class is a way we structure our code, and an object is an instance of a class.